All right. All right. So our first question, we did a little research about you, obviously, and we know that you come from a, working class family where apparently, you sold like trash bags, stamps, coins, even ran newspapers, did some odd things around here to get some cash, respect the hustle. But we really want to know when and kind of where did this entrepreneurial spirit kind of stem from?
As long as I can remember, I've been hustling and grinding. I mean, it's just how I grew up. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that my parents worked, and whenever it came down to me wanting something, I had to figure out a way to get it on my own. It wasn't like I do with Jake, where it's like, okay, let me send some money to Apple Pay, and you can go to 7-Eleven and get a soda. It just wasn't like that at all. It was, all right, if I wanted something, I had to figure out a way. And that was part one. And part two is I've always loved to read and learn however I could. And so I was, to try to figure out how I was going to get there, I was reading books about business people, when I was 9, 10, 11 years old. Now, they were just little things, right? But I just always started trying to figure things out on my own. And I think once you get into that habit of figuring things out on your own, then you're not afraid to try to do anything.
Terrific, terrific. Thank you. And pivoting more into your like young adult life, your Indiana University era. Um, when you founded broadcast.com with your friend, did you realize how terrific and how like revolutionary the idea was, or did that kind of happen as time went on?
No, I knew. I remember standing in front of our little office and telling everybody, we're going to change how people communicate. We literally could wipe out cable television. And if this works for us and we execute right, this is going to be worth billions and billions of dollars. And so I said, look, we got to go for it. We won't know until we try. And you got to realize that nobody knew what streaming was back then. Everybody just laughed at me when I talked about it. And so to stand there in front of our employees and say, look, we're going to change the game, and all these people who are stuck on television are going to regret it. Everybody thought I was insane.
Terrific. I mean, I guess that's the attitude that got you where you are. So, uh, with the knowledge you have now, looking back on your life, is there any kind of business decision you would change or any kind of different approach you would take to the things you spoke about?
I would have been nicer to people. There were times when I was on a mission and it was just like ready, fire, aim, let's go, 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 go. And there were times when I would get really annoyed if I thought somebody wasn't using common sense or doing it the way that I wanted them to. And and so that annoyance really it wasn't good for business, and it created more stress for me and for everybody else. And so it took my partner Todd Wagner literally saying to me, look, people are getting up to be afraid of you, and that's not a good thing, so you need to chill. And he was right. And so I've been different ever since.
We kind of get that lesson from our teachers too. So to know that it's not only happening to us is kind of eye
Yeah,
opening.
nice is good for business. It really, really, really is. If people want to work with, people they like, and now particularly with social media, you get to see what somebody's all about. And it may not even be what they put up themselves, it may be what other people are putting up about them. And so you're going to find out between somebody and their friends or their parents or, where they go to school, what's up.
So obviously now speaking to your background, especially your Zoom background,
Uh-huh.
we all know, we all see you on Shark Tank. But would you mind expanding on your process of deciding, when people present to you, when entrepreneurs come and, tell you about their company, can you, elaborate on the process you take in terms of, hey, should I or should I not invest in this specific company?
So there's two different ways that I invest. One is Shark Tank, and one is outside of Shark Tank. Shark Tank's a little different because you have the commercial automatically built in, right? There are millions and millions and millions of people who are going to see that product and see that company, and that gives you an automatic advantage, and it's a head start. And so I might use a different criteria for a Shark Tank company than I do for one outside of Shark Tank. But inside of Shark Tank, part two to my investment criteria is, why do I even do the show? And a big part of the reason I do the show is because it sends the message, particularly to kids, like all the marksmen out there. that being an entrepreneur is good, and starting a business is a good thing. And the American dream is alive and well. And so, there'll be businesses where I think, you know what, this may not be the best business that I ever may invest in, but I think it's the right thing to do, and it stands for, and I think I can help the entrepreneurs involved. So that's one kind of business. Then there's others where I just want to crush it, right? Where this is just a great idea that makes me say, why didn't I think of that? It's like, okay, let's go to work and invest in this company.
Yeah, that's really insightful, Mr. Cuban. So I actually read online when I was emailing you that you check your email for 3 hours a day and you spend about two more responding to them.
Yeah,
So it makes
at
you
least
kind of unorthodox in compared to other billionaires. So a little more insight on why you do that would be
more
fantastic.
efficient. I mean, it's asynchronous. I can do it whatever time of day. If I'm up early, up late, wherever I'm at in the world, I can and I can respond, and it allows me to be really straightforward, and I can be right to the point. If you're doing a Zoom call, hey, how you doing? How's school? This and that, and hey, that's a really cool shirt. Where'd you get it? And with email, it's just bam, 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 and and for people I don't know that send me emails, I can take 30 seconds and look at the first paragraph and know if I'm interested or not. Whereas if you guys say, hey, would you talk to this friend of mine? Then I got to go through, hey, how are you? What's going on? And that just slows me down. It's not that I will
Right.
never do that, but I really try to do as much business as possible via email.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. That's amazing.
I guess that's why you are where you are. So,
That's right.
um, so, so talking about, where you kind of started your, your fortune, in the whole process of selling to Yahoo, I had more of a personal question of, I read, you sold to Yahoo and then you turned around and you hedged against the company. So I kind of wanted to understand your mindset of why you would sell to a company and sell to a company that you thought was going to fail. What was kind of the
Oh,
reasoning
no, it
behind
wasn't like that at all. So
Oh,
there's
okay.
two things. Yeah. So there's how does the company perform? Does it execute? How profitable is it? And then there's the stock market.
Yeah.
The stock market is supposed to reflect what happens with the performance of the company, but it
Okay.
doesn't always. So back then, I thought the stock market was too high, that it wasn't just overvaluing Yahoo, it was overvaluing all internet stocks. And so, and I turned out to be right. And so I wasn't concerned. It wasn't so much why I thought Yahoo was a bad company. It was more trying not to be greedy. I made all this money, more than I could ever possibly imagine, more than I ever dreamed of, and I don't want to lose it. And so I gave up, a collar or a hedge. What it does is it takes some of the upside and you give that away. You sell calls and you say, I'm not going to take all the upside. So if the stock goes up 100, 200, 300%, I'm not going to participate in that upside, but I'm willing to do that because I'm not greedy and I want to protect my downside. Because having, more money wasn't going to change my life nearly as much as losing all that would change my life. So that was the thought process.
Okay. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense than the tiny Wikipedia blurb that's out
Yeah.
there. I'll make sure it's used.
In Wikipedia, people don't always try to be accurate. Sometimes they have no agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely hear that. I can definitely hear that.
So Mr. Cuban, as we all know, you're a very uber successful entrepreneur. So what advice do you have for marksmen and people our age that are starting their path down the quote unquote entrepreneurship avenue?
Well, number one, you have to be a learner, right? Because the only constant in business is change. If you just look at what's changed since you guys got to St. Mark's, I mean, just technologically, there's just so much that has changed. And that rate of change is only going to accelerate with artificial intelligence and other things. And so you've got to be a learner, because if you can't keep up, then you're always going to be behind. Number two, you've just got to try things. The best time to start a business is when you're in school, because the worst case is you go home, mom and dad feed you, and then you go to school the next day, right? And so you really don't have anything to lose. And that really helped me because, I was able to try things, whether it was selling garbage bags, whether it was selling baseball cards, whatever it may be. And you see that a lot with kids taking sports cards and selling them on eBay, or going on StockX and selling shoes. there's a lot of ways to be entrepreneurial online and do that, after you're done with your homework. And so, that's part two, try different things. And part three really is you've got to realize that selling is at the core of all businesses, that there's never been a business that's been successful without sales. And to a lot of people, sales means convincing people, and it's really not. Sales is more about finding a way to make a product to help. And so, wait, let me turn this down some. And so, even if you're selling Girl Scout cookies, hey, let me show you a way when when my Girl Scout cookies get into your tummy, you're going to be happy. For $6, you can be happy. Would you like to be happy? Right? It's not about convincing, it's about helping. And so I think, that's the other thing you have to learn. And if you're willing to do those things, you have a good chance. And then I'd add one more thing. Lots of people say or ask, what kind of business should I start? And you just have to try different things to see what you're good at. I got good at technology, so I stuck with technology. I got good at sales, so I stuck with sales. You don't have to know when you're in school, when you're in college, you don't have to know what you're going to do when you grow up. But you want to try as many different things because there may be one thing. All it takes is one thing that you really like to do that you may be able to be great at. And once you find something you can be great at, that's where all the great fortunes are made. And when I say, let me just add one thing. When I talk about great fortunes and success, it's not just about making as much money as you can. You may have a social goal where you want to change something about the school, your community, the world, and having that type of success where you get excited in the morning to wake up and do something that's going to have an impact in your world. That's as great a success as anybody can have. And so when I talk about, being great at something, it could be, changing the environment, improving the environment, coming up a better way for carbon sequestration or capture. Whatever it is that you like, being great at it is going to create all kinds of opportunities for you.
So speaking to that idea of, finding something that you're passionate about and really making that into a business. Obviously, as teenage boys, we're most excited about the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, that's just a given. So one question we really had is you bought the team in 2000. And do you see yourself now more as, do you look at the Dallas Mavericks as a passion project or do you see it as a business?
No, it's definitely passion. I'll give up money to win championships.
Good.
Yeah, that's all I care about. Wait, let me see if I can change my background here. No, I can't change it right here. Because right behind me, I have the Larry O'Brien trophy that we won 10 years ago, and I want more of those.
Sir.
Larry O'Brien,
Yes,
many buddies, right? And so I'm excited about this year. We made a lot of changes in the front office with coaching and with Jake Kidd and Nico Harrison as the general manager. We brought in Reggie Bullock, and I think he's going to have a big impact. But I just think having KP come back healthy and start the season healthy, I think he's going to have a
unicorn now.
Yeah,
he is a unicorn now.
Yeah, we get off track with the Mavericks.
Yeah. So going back to the investment side of things, you mentioned in your email that you started looking at
crypto. You guys see that trophy back there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Iconic. Go ahead.
Okay, so question?
So going back to the investment side, how exactly do you evaluate stocks and cryptocurrencies that you invest in?
Yeah, so first of all, it's a question of how much knowledge do I have? Because you can't lie to yourself. Because there's so many facets to different types of stocks, right? No two companies are really the same, and so how much work am I willing to put in? So I don't, and what's exciting to me? Where do I think the greatest innovations are coming from? And so really, I don't own a lot of different stocks rather. My biggest stock holdings are Amazon and Netflix, and I've owned them for years. And my other stock holdings, companies that I invested in, is companies that then went public. So I'm actually spending more time on the crypto side and the NFT side. And you've got to be very careful there. I've gotten rug pulled. There's a lot of things that can happen. But what I really try to look for is what is the utility of the platform. So you look at Ethereum. I have a lot of Ethereum because the thing about Ethereum is smart contracts. And with smart contracts on top of Ethereum nodes, there's a lot of unique applications, not just NFTs that you can create. You'll see us evolve to using NFTs as tickets at the Mavericks. We're working right now so that if you buy a ticket through the Mavs and you have a Mavs Ticketmaster account, we'll be able to automatically send you an NFT if you go to the game. If you don't go to the game and you give it to a friend, then they'll get the NFT. So we're looking at different ways to add value to traditional business applications using crypto and in particular smart contracts. And so, that's why I own Ethereum. That's why I own a company called Matic. It's what they call layer 2 version of Ethereum that allows it to be a little bit faster and cheaper for those types of applications. And that's actually what the Mavs will use. And so, it all comes down to taking the time to learn, because the reality is if the crypto doesn't have, that network, the blockchain network doesn't have a utility, then and there's no reason for people to use it, then there's not going to be a lot of value long term beyond supply and demand for that token.
Definitely. And so, obviously with the kind of relative new kind of introduction that crypto has to people and the kind of skepticism regarding it, what do you have to say to those that are, coming out and saying, oh, crypto, is a fad, it's not going to be as important in 20 years? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, the applications speak for themselves. If it's a better way to do ticketing, then crypto is going to survive just to do ticketing. If it's a better way to distribute digital files, like with NFTs, imagine if your textbooks were NFTs and you didn't have do you guys buy your textbooks at St. Mark's, or do they get handed down to you?
I think they get shipped to our house.
Okay. So are they brand new? They are new. Okay, so that means St. Mark's is buying them somewhere, and every year they're buying those same textbooks over and over and over again, right? Imagine if they were an NFT and you can print them if you wanted, or you could use the NFT to get a physical version if you wanted. But when you were done with the class, you could sell it to somebody else, and the publisher would be able to get a royalty because royalties are a feature of NFTs. It'd be, imagine if you're doing, any type of how-to book, right? Any type of cliff notes, right? So if there's cliff notes for Shakespeare, when you're done with that class, rather than that book being worth nothing, or you having to take it to half-price books or somewhere to sell it or online to sell it, now you can just sell the NFT and make some money back, and the publisher can continue to get a royalty. So to answer your question, what will the long-term implications of crypto be? The value of the network and the utility of the network and the productivity that the network provides will define that. I talked about the early days of the internet and streaming when people didn't know what streaming was. Now, when you turn on Netflix or you stream anything, YouTube, you don't think about what happens behind it, right? You just go to YouTube and you click. You just go to Netflix and you click. Back in the day, there were a bunch of different networks that you had to choose from. You had to download TCP/IP. You had to download Microsoft NetShow or Real Network players or all this stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, the network became more efficient and the software became better, and it all became hidden. And that's the way it is today. Crypto will be the same thing. It's just early now, and so there's a lot of things that are complicated because we don't know what the best solutions are and we don't know what the best applications are, but we will over time.
Yeah. There's definitely that buzz around school about crypto. So we are
Yeah, it's fun.
excited to see where it goes.
And that's why, like, I got Jake into Dogecoin, and he's got a little bit, of Ethereum, because Doge is just fun and it's a cheap way to learn how it works, right?
Yeah.
It's 25, 26 cents now, so you can buy, 100 of them and hardly, and spend $25, and and it's nothing, right? Not that $25 isn't a lot of money, but it's a cheap introduction into learning
totally.
how crypto works.
Yeah, a good stepping stone. Definitely.
So
Well, I lost you. Didn't hear you there.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Currently, the COVID pandemic is ravaging throughout the entire world. So, how do you think that you have adapted your businesses in light of the pandemic?
Yeah, life has been hard for everybody. Obviously, it's been crazy for kids. It's been crazy as parents for our kids, trying to get them to adapt and just deal with it. But it is what it is. Every generation has something that they have to adapt to. From a business perspective, it's pushed a lot of things online. And so we've had to be better online. And for some companies, that's been great. For other companies that are required, like movie theaters, fortunately, I sold our movie theaters. Thank you, Todd Wagner. But, for some businesses, it's been tough, and I don't know that they will recover. But, it goes back to what I said at the beginning about being able to learn and always being learning, because a big part of business is agility. And I probably should have listed it early on when we talked about it, because agility matters in business. Things change and you have to know how to be agile.
So speaking of being agile, I mean, at some point in time, the dust is going to settle. The sun is going to shine again. Where do you see that new normal? I know some companies are closing offices, allowing people to work from home. Do you kind of see that moving towards that area? Or do you think the new normal is just going to be where we are now?
I think we'll be agile, right? We'll see what creates the most productivity. We'll see what gets us the best results. We'll see what makes, our consumers and our employees the happiest. Some people like working at home. Some people want to get away from the kids. Some people like going into an office. Some people hate the commute. Some people think you lose some things with community and cordiality and, the ability to connect to people that you get in the office, all the water cooler type talk type stuff. So we'll find a balance. Like at the Mavs, we're not going to bring people into the office every day. But once we get everybody vaccinated and get everybody safe, then we will.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's an interesting perspective.
So we want to just wrap up real quick with a Mavericks question.
Yeah.
So I personally have been following the Mavericks for almost 5 years, and I can almost name like every single statistic that Luka has. Um, so what are you expecting this season? Like,
I expect us, knock on wood, to be a lot better.
yeah,
Luka will continue to get better. KP will be healthy. We have, Rick Carlisle is a great coach, but sometimes it's like if you had the same teacher for every class every year, sometimes it's hard to keep a strong connection. And so, Jay Kidd's a great coach, a great players coach, and I think just having that new energy from Jason is going to.
Yeah.
and the addition of Reggie Bullock is going to be awesome to have another 3-and-D player for Luka.
What's that?
It's awesome that Luka is going to have Reggie Bullock as another
Yeah,
3-and-D player
I
to play
think
off
you
of.
think about it. We're going to we'll have Reggie, we'll have Sterling Brown, we'll have Jalen Brunson, we'll have Max
Porzingis is
Kleber, and those are guys who have shot 40% plus. And Trey Burke is typically a 40% three-point shooter, and KP is usually 36 to 38, and Dodo was 39.4, and so we can go 8 deep of guys who can shoot 40% three. So we're always going to be able to create room for Luka now, which is going to be a big plus.
right.
Definitely. Well, I can tell you this school is definitely behind the Mavericks, and I'm sure the rest of Dallas is.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, Mr. Cuban. I know you probably have a busy schedule.
October 6th, Mavs start preseason, so I hope to see everybody there.
You'll see us there. You'll see us there.
And pretty soon after that, for those of you who log in and go to the games, we're going to have NFTs for you too. So we'll expect feedback to see what you think of them. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you, sir. Have a great night.
You too.